Mimicry and camouflage. Mimicry occurs when an organism physically resembles another organism in order to protect itself and avoid predators. Unpalatable, as you can see, means not pleasant to eat. It could be uncomfortable for the predator with spines or stingers or a chemical irritant, or it could actually physically make the predator sick, and the predator will remember that experience. There are several types of mimicry. In Mullerian mimicry, both the mimic and the model are unpalatable. What that means is that if a predator eats either kind of butterfly, it will get sick. This is good for both kinds of butterflies because if a predator eats any sort of an orange butterfly, it will remember that orange butterflies make it sick, and it will tend to avoid all orange butterflies in the future. So every orange butterfly benefits from this mimicry. Another type, called Batesian mimicry, is a bit different. In this case, only the model actually contains the toxin or the stinger or whatever makes it unpalatable. The mimic doesn't expend energy to make the toxin or the stingers or the other kind of defense. It basically takes advantage of the defenses created by the model. What happens here is that a predator may encounter a model, for example, a stripy snake, and learn that stripy snakes are generally bad, or it might occasionally encounter a stripy snake that is harmless. Now, this is good for the mimic because it doesn't expend any energy to make the defense, and sometimes predators will avoid it. But if predators get especially hungry, they might be willing to take their chances. And this isn't so good for the model because the model expended the energy to create the defense and sometimes will get eaten anyway because of the presence of the mimic. Other forms of mimicry occur when organisms imitate other organisms, usually larger and scarier looking organisms. So in this example, the spot on the owl moth, when positioned correctly, looks like the eyes of a much bigger and scarier owl. So predators might avoid the smaller owl moth. Camouflage is a different kind of defense. In camouflage, an organism directly resembles an object or a background that is inanimate like a rock, or inedible, something an organism normally would not eat, like a twig. In this way, the organism is difficult to see and avoids being eaten. Now, in some cases, as you can see by these pictures, it's simply difficult to see the organisms on their background because they are similar color and pattern. In other cases, what we call disruptive coloration, the organisms are difficult to see for another reason. So for example, many fish are dark on the top and light on the bottom. In this way, if you're a predator in the water and you look up, you see the light bottom of the fish up against the light surface of the water in the sky, and it blends in. However, if you're a bird flying overhead, you see the dark back of the fish, and this blends in with the water. Another example of disruptive coloration occurs with things like jaguars and zebras and cheetahs, organisms that have spots and stripes. And while it may seem that these would make the organisms stand out, when the organisms are in the shade or running through plants with different shapes and colors, these stripes or spots actually make them very difficult to see and to track. It sort of breaks up the outline so that if they're running along, it's hard to tell exactly where they are. So that is a form of camouflage as well. And remember that not only do prey benefit from camouflage because the predators cannot see them, but predators may benefit as well because the prey might not see them coming. Here are some examples of camouflage. Can you find these organisms? The picture in the upper left shows a walking stick insect. It's actually hanging from one of the twigs. It's the sort of longer twig on the bottom horizontally, and its little legs are holding onto a branch. Very good defense. In the upper right, another type of insect, camouflaged as thorns. In the lower left, a sort of a sea dragon or seahorse, camouflaged in amongst some plants under the water. And in the lower right, that's a leaf frog in the middle of a pile of dead leaves, looking very much like a dead leaf itself. It can be easy to mix up these two terms, mimicry and camouflage. So use this slide to help you keep it straight. In mimicry, two organisms look similar, and usually in a way that makes it very obvious to potential predators. Bright colors, etc. Because the organism wants to be seen. It's advertising its defense. See my bright colors? Don't eat me. I'm poison or unpleasant. In camouflage, the organism doesn't want to be seen. It's trying to avoid being seen by a predator or by its prey by blending in with the background, whether that background is something alive or something inanimate, abiotic. Any questions?